we had a physical conference a few years ago, and we started this year with the plan to do another one. And I think that the events of this year have caused all of us to adapt. So it's really miraculous that we can now be here and have this conference. And I want to thank our team for putting this together over the last couple of weeks, and thank all of you for joining. And this has been a challenging year. I think I'm tired of COVID. You're probably tired of COVID, and there are hard times out in the world. And at the same time, I think that this is really an opportunity for localization. I think more and more of the world is going online. That's pretty obvious. And more people are relying on digital products and services to go through daily life. And for us in localization, that is a tremendous opportunity for impact. So I hope what you take away from today is that you learn something new, you meet somebody new, and you go into tomorrow ready to do something different than you did today. Because I think now is a time when we can all take chances and take risks in service of trying and doing something new that has positive impact in the world. And now is a good time to try new things. Case in point, I didn't think I'd be here, able to give this talk in shorts and no shoes. But you know what? In 2020, it's fine. We can try new things, and there's no risk in doing so. So we are a community of people who are trying to advance a multilingual future. And I want to thank all parts of that community who are present here today. First of all, our customers, some of whom you'll hear from today, who are leading the change to make the world more accessible to everyone, irrespective of the language that they speak. To the localization leaders who are here today, who haven't yet joined our movement, I hope you'll learn something and meet somebody that'll give you an idea that you can take and put into practice tomorrow. To our translators and our translator community, none of the work that we do would be possible without you. And a little bit later on, we'll talk about the tremendous change that our community has embraced this year in service of making the world more multilingual. And then finally, to our partners, localization is a complex operational process. No company does all of it. And so you need partners to be able to serve the world's great companies and help them make information available. And we've got a great partner who's sponsoring today, which is Contentful. And we're going to talk a little bit about digital transformation today. And a first step that many companies make in their digital transformation is moving to an API-first modern web platform, which is what Contentful is. Earlier this year, we switched over to Contentful and have been so pleased with the experience and the product that we've invested pretty heavily in building a connector for it. It's got awesome localization support. So there's a link here. You could check out how to use it. And we're grateful for their support and their partnership in service to some of our customers. Okay, so we started Lilt to make the world's information accessible, irrespective of where you were born or what language you speak. And this started for me about 15 years ago when I was living in a non-English speaking country. And in that country, you made less money if you didn't speak English. And it was around that time that Google Translate came out. And it occurred to me that this was a technology that could have enormous impact in the world for people. And for those of us in business, give us an opportunity to make products and services available to everyone. I think in the world that we live in today, information is like capital, and access to it is necessary to advance. And so the world that we want to live in is one in which everybody has the same access to opportunity, and every business can grow in every market. And we believe that fundamental to realizing that vision is technology. The number of professional translators in the world is roughly the same. It's not growing significantly, but the amount of digital information is exploding exponentially. So the gap between the capacity of the language industry to process and the amount of digital information in the world, that gap is widening. And I think the way that you bridge that gap is through technology, by giving the professional translators who work to serve the enterprise the best tools so that they can process the most information per day as possible. And then we bridge the rest of the gap through a variety of different technologies, which is what we'll talk about today. And as I mentioned, this work is done as part of a community. And so I want to describe what our promise is to that community. We have 4 company virtues, which is the commitment that we make to everyone in this community, our customers, our translators, those of you who haven't yet joined us, and our partners. And these have served us really well in 2020. And so let me tell you what they mean to us briefly. So the first one is toughness. And by this, we mean resilience in the face of adversity, especially when it comes to problem solving. Localization is a complex, operational, 24/7, 365 demanding business. And you've got to have some grit and resolve to be successful. And so that's been fundamental to who we are as a company and who we bring into our company to serve our customers. Quickness is number 2. We understand that we are in service to all the partners in our community, and one of the easiest and best things that we can do to make you successful in your job is to be rapidly responsive to you. And so with our communication, with our problem solving, with everything we do, we try to maximize on responding to you as rapidly as we can. In localization, we care about quality. We care about providing high fidelity information to people in the language of their choice. And that means we have to be detail oriented. So meticulousness is the way that we describe that, which is radical ownership over the information that you entrust us with. And then finally, humility. And by this, we mean having the approach of a lifelong learner and having extreme intellectual humility so that when we learn from you, our community, when we learn from each other, we can put what we learn into practice as quickly as possible. And these virtues have served us well over the last few years, and especially going into 2020 with the adversity that we faced. So this is our commitment to you, and this is what you should expect from us and what you should hold us to when you partner with us. Okay, so I'll make a few remarks about this year and what that means for localization, and then we'll go into an overview of the rest of what you're going to see today. So I think 2020 obviously has accelerated this transition to digital. This is a trend that started well before this year. It's been in progress for decades. And then suddenly we all, to do work, to do life, to do school, we've had to go online. And I think that that means that multilingual digital experiences are just more essential than ever, and making all of the tools and all of the services that we need to do our daily lives available in all languages. And so, you know, we've kind of, if you read the newspaper or you watch TV, you've sort of gotten accustomed to seeing these sort of hockey stick shaped charts. And so here's one of e-commerce in the United States. And so there was a decade of sort of organic growth of people buying more and more things online. And then suddenly in 2020, there's 10 years of growth compressed into 4 months. And that means that, again, this means opportunity for localization in that more and more people are depending on digital experiences to do their daily lives. And there are more people to access and more people to give information to. And so I think this is a trend that works in favor of localization and makes it more visible and more strategic to more companies. And if you haven't been thinking about digital transformation, well, then your manager certainly has been. So this is some polling results that Twilio did a few months ago, and it's about 1,400 companies. 97% said that the pandemic has accelerated their shift to digital. 95% said that they were looking for new ways to engage customers, and nearly 80% said that they had increased their budgets for digital transformation. And so what do we mean by this word digital transformation? Well, I think an operating definition of it is that we're going to take manual systems and processes, and we're going to upgrade them with digital tools and digital processes. And we do that for 2 reasons. One, obviously, is efficiency. We're using more efficient tools to do the same work. And the second is that it creates more opportunities for innovation and creativity. And I think companies have seen that both for their customers and for their employees. And I think that localization is just an obvious win for digital transformation, because we've known for a very long time, intuitively, but also when surveys are taken, that people are more likely to engage products and services and buy things when they can read about them. So there was a report that came out by Stripe a few months ago that 74% of e-commerce checkout pages were not localized. And then, of course, Common Sense Advisory, which has been doing great work in analyzing the impact of localization for many years, has had studies over and over again over the last decade that show that people are less likely to buy a product if it hasn't been localized. So if you just stick these two numbers together, when people are trying to buy things in a checkout experience, language is a source of friction, and we know that people are less likely to buy. Well, that just has a direct impact on conversions and on growing your business. And this is a problem that in localization, we're equipped to solve. And it's a win. It's a win for the business, and it's a win for the world. And that's why I think that the trends that are shaping 2020 and are shaping the years that follow, these are just good news for localization and for our industry and for everyone working in this field who believes in a future that's multilingual. And the reason that, the reason that more of this isn't happening is because transformation initiatives are really hard. McKinsey, the consulting firm, has a digital practice that specializes just in digital transformation for enterprise. And here's some recent data from McKinsey from about 1,500 companies, the types of transformation initiatives that they undertook. And the most common one is a website replatform. I mentioned Contentful. That is precisely their business, which is helping companies modernize from a legacy web systems to more modern API-first systems. And businesses are actually pretty good at that. They get that right about 85% of the time. Another really common transformation initiative these days is moving your business into the cloud. So this means moving it into Amazon Web Services, Azure, or similar. And businesses are also pretty good at that. So they get that right about 80% of the time. When you start adopting newer and more advanced technologies, the success rates just really start to plummet. So big data initiatives, this is around taking, sort of the disparate fragmented data sets in businesses and trying to assemble them so that you have a comprehensive view of what's going on. That succeeds just over half of the time. And then if we come down to the very bottom, we have neural machine learning technologies. And so many of you who are in localization, you know that there's been this enormous enthusiasm and hype around neural machine translation. And here we are down here at the bottom, where most businesses, as they try to adopt advanced artificial intelligence technologies, they're not successful. And indeed, we hear this from our customers. The rate of change in machine translation over the last number of years has been faster than at any point in the 70 years that people have been working on it. And yet, people have spent enormous time on engine evaluation, on machine translation post-editing, on using raw MT in various places as sort of the way that they think about trying to do digital transformation. And the payoff just isn't there. Maybe you get a little bit of cost savings, maybe quality's sort of the same or it tapers off a little bit, but it certainly doesn't match the expense and the effort that you're going through to adopt this technology. So this is why we created Lilt, which is, we believe, the first digital language service provider. And we've always built technology. We've been building technology for a long time. And over the last number of years, we've realized that we have to surround that technology with a world-class customer team to partner with businesses to make this transformation possible. And let me tell you about the parts of that team. So it starts with a world-class customer and account team. And we've brought in people with decades of industry experience. You've just heard from Paula Shannon. You'll hear more from her later in the day. She's been in the industry for 3 decades and has seen it all. And we've brought in people like that to help manage change as an extension of your team. So it starts with a world-class customer account team that's an extension of yours. Internally, the company that we've built is a quick, responsive, and detail-oriented partner. And this is going to help you scale and rise to meet any localization challenge. We realize that localization is an episodic business. Demand goes up and down. New products are launched. New marketing initiatives are created. And what you need is a quick and detail-oriented business partner to help you stand up new initiatives. We pair with that what we believe are the world's best translators. And I can make this claim because a little bit later on, I'll tell you about some of the change that this community has embraced on behalf of making our customers successful and making the world multilingual. And finally, it is sort of all built around state-of-the-art technology, digital technology. And I think in this case, the tools that we have available are not just machine translation, but other tools, some of which we'll talk about today, that increase translation quality, make the whole workflow more efficient, give you more visibility and control, and give you more scalability. And I think the litmus test for what is a digital language service provider is, are they investing fundamentally in research and development in the technology that's the future of this industry? Okay, so do they have scientists and engineers who are active in the natural language processing and machine learning communities, who are publishing papers, advancing the state of the art, building systems, and trying to build the tools and the infrastructure for the next generation of language technology? Or is that work being outsourced somewhere else? Is it being outsourced to Google and Microsoft? And I think that what we need is more of the companies in this industry who are investing meaningful capital in research and development for the tools and technology that are going to help us close the gap between the capacity of the world's translators and the amount of digital information that's being created. And what we want to see is all language service providers investing in R&D and investing in tools to make this process more efficient and more affordable and more accessible to more people. We would love to see that. And I think it's a little bit scary when the core technology is outsourced somewhere else. You're going to hear from some of our customers like Asics. Imagine if Asics was outsourcing shoe development to somewhere else. You're going to hear from Intel. Imagine if Intel was outsourcing semiconductor development to somewhere else. And I think that's kind of the scary state that we're in the language industry, is that there's not enough investment in the basic technology, which is obviously the future of our industry. And I think there's enough work, and we want smart scientists working on this problem to close this gap. Okay, so let me tell you about some of the stories of transformation over the past year, and some of which you'll hear about today. So let me start with our customers who are creating products and services that are available to everyone. And I mentioned Asics. I think we've partnered with Asics for a couple of years now, and the mission of Asics is to provide goods and services, shoes and athletic apparel for people to have healthy and fulfilling lifestyles. And this is a message. This is a universal message of health and wellness that should be available to everyone. And they've substantially expanded their online presence so that everyone can have access to these products and to the lifestyle that Asics promotes. We started working together when Asics had a need to go into another market really rapidly. In e-commerce, it's really easy to measure that making products available in another language leads to more sales. And Asics had a need to go into another market. We partnered with them, stood up a translation effort very quickly to get that market done. And then we've gone on and expanded to many other languages to make this experience available to everyone. And you're going to hear from Alex later on today. She's going to tell you a little bit about how we did that as an example of making digital products available on the web. You also hear right after my talk, we're gonna meet with Loic, who runs localization at Intel. Intel is one of the world's iconic companies whose mission is to create world-changing technology that enriches the life of every person. And so most of us use products that have an Intel chip inside of them. Intel's making computing available for everyone. And if you go to intel.com or any of their web properties, you'll find that all of the information is available in lots of different languages, and that's good for the world. It's a huge, large-scale translation effort that's massively technical because of the sophistication of the products that they sell. And we've been blessed over the past year to partner with them to demonstrate what this approach and what this technology can do at massive scale, which I'm excited to talk to Loic about a little bit later in the day. Okay, we also realized that we need a generation of localization leaders who are going to advance technology and make this new digital normal possible. And you're going to hear from some of them today. So Paula Shannon, who's going to be talking with some of our customers, as I mentioned, has been in the industry many years and has been advocating for change and new process and new tools and new approaches for a very long time. And we were so blessed when she joined our company as chief evangelist to go and talk to the industry and promote the ideas that we've been developing here at Lilt. And so you'll hear from her. She's been inspiring to all of us who have come to this industry and tried to learn its customs and learn its practices, and yet bring new ideas in as well. You'll hear from Loic, who has been a change agent in Intel, and Alex at Asics. And finally, you'll hear from Paul Buckley at Canva. Canva has this global vision for making digital experiences available to everyone in every language spoken on Earth. And Paul's been instrumental in realizing that vision of Canva's leadership. And so you'll hear about him later today. And we've been thinking about how could we invest more in the community to invest in the next generation of leaders and invest in people who are advancing change and advocating for new ways of doing work. And we decided that we were going to invest in women in localization. So I'm delighted to announce today that we are partnering with Women in Localization to support the next generation of leaders and help advance the careers of women specifically, but women and men more generally. I myself have been to Women in Localization events for the last couple of years. And I think it's an organization that puts on events and it has created a community that advances the cause of localization generally. And we just could not be more excited to partner with Women in Localization to support their mission of advancing the careers of people who want to make localization their life's work. And we've been inspired getting to know their leadership, getting to know their mission, getting to know their values, and have decided that this is the partner that we believe in to advance this next generation of leaders. So I want to thank everyone who's involved in Women in Localization, from the leadership down to the different chapters all over the world, for the events and programs that they put on for women and for men to advance the cause of localization and the careers of people who care about language. Okay, I also want to talk about our translators. And our translators are fundamental to the work that we do in localization. I think it's a not so unknown, not so well kept secret that at the core of every localization program are great translators. Yes, we need great technology, but this is not a problem that's solved completely by technology, or even the majority of which is solved by technology. We also need skilled and talented translators who are going to embrace change and change the way that they work to support this cause of making the world more multilingual. And I think you'll hear today about what it means for people to fundamentally change the way that they work using AI technologies. We have Tom Davenport today, who's written significantly on this topic, and he'll speak about generally the future of work and how that's impacted by AI. And I think what's really interesting about translation is that AI is not new in translation. People have been using machine translation technologies since the mid-50s. And so this is an industry in which we've been engaged in using AI tools for a very, very long time. And what's new is that in the last few years, these technologies have just gotten so much better. And case in point, when you work with Lilt, 100% of our translators work with our various neural language technologies, which we'll talk about more today. So in our system, it's not an option. It's not, oh, maybe you're going to post edit on this project and on this one you're not. We have a common workflow accelerated by language technology that admittedly introduces significant change in a translator's work. And we have lots of translators who have embraced this change and have relearned how to do translation in a fundamentally new way. And we realize that's really hard. And we thank them for being explorers and being part of this. In the last few months, we've also moved our entire community over to hourly wages. So this is something that has been talked about. My understanding is for decades. It's certainly been talked about since I've been joining translation and localization conferences for the last 6 or 7 years, that we need to move away from this per word pricing if we're going to totally take advantage of this technology, because translation jobs differ, the effectiveness of these language tools differ across jobs, and it's really difficult to estimate what something is going to cost if you just have this fixed per word price. And so we've now moved to an hourly wage for translators that will pay them for the time that they spend. And if the technology makes a job really, really quick, so they move very quickly through it, then they're paid for that. If the technology slows them down or the content is really hard, then we pay them for that as well. And what this represents is a commitment from our translators that they believe in this technology, and from us that we're going to bet our whole business on this technology. Because if it doesn't work, our business doesn't work. And so we think that this business model is what represents the best alignment of interests amongst customers, technology developers, and translators, and creates a world where everyone wins. And I think that's the opportunity presented by technology right now in the transformation and localization, is that it can be a world in which everyone wins. And I think that's only possible if you sort of rethink the basic premises of how we do localization. And so I want to thank our translators for being in the vanguard of change in our industry, and for the tremendous risks and experiments that they've participated in over the last 12 months, especially during this pandemic when there's so much uncertainty. Our translators have been essential partners in the movement and the mission that we've been creating and that we're trying to build. So we also thought about how could we invest more in this community? Well, it's a little bit dispersed over the globe. And how could we have more impact in the translation community? And of course, Translators Without Borders is a wonderful organization that many of people in our community feel passionately about, and dedicates time and effort, translation effort, to places that can't necessarily afford translation. In localization, we're typically working with large companies that are well-funded and very profitable. Because localization is so expensive these days, we end up working with very large companies, and yet there are nonprofits, there are non-governmental organizations, there are academic institutions, there are places in the developing world that have a need for translation, for access to information. And Translators Without Borders has been an exemplar organization in not only investing in the translator community, but directing some of the skills and the talents in that community towards worthy causes. And so Translator Without Borders' mission is to a world where knowledge knows no language barriers, with a specific focus on places that are in need. And we're thrilled to, as we've gotten to know the leadership and gotten to know the mission and values, we think that there's strong mission alignment with what we're doing, and we're thrilled to partner with them to invest in the translator community and invest in causes where translation is sorely needed. So thank you to Translators Without Borders and for their leadership, for the work that they do, and for this partnership. Okay, We've talked a little bit about technology too. We're also announcing some new and exciting products today. A little bit later in the day, Sean Johnson and some members of our research and development team will be showing some of the new things that we've released in the last few months, as well as new products that we haven't announced yet that are going to be coming out in the near future. And these are roughly in 5 categories. And let me tell you where these categories come from. So at Lilt, we believe in partnership, as I mentioned, and part of that partnership is working together with our customers to define the next generation of tools and to solve problems for our customers. So all of our customers are part of our design partnership, and our product teams regularly meet with each one of our customers to learn about the problems that they're dealing with and to see how we can build products that will solve the problems that they have. And over the last 12 months, the problems that we've heard about and that we've set out solving are roughly in these 5 categories. The first being connectivity. That's connecting to both the legacy systems, the existing systems that are used for localization, and content systems where the content lives that we need to localize. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the connectivity products that are coming. Quality, everybody's concerned about quality. And I think that one of the things that's not emphasized enough is that technology can be used to increase quality in meaningful ways, because in enterprise localization, really what we care about is consistency and producing text that conforms to a set of requirements and style guides. And we can use technology to help enforce those style guides and produce higher quality. And we'll show you some of the products that we've built today to produce higher quality translation. Visibility and control. People want to have control over their budget. There's more demand for transparency over the supply chain. Who's working in it? What are they doing? What are the volumes that are being produced? What are the quality scores for the projects that are being produced? And I think that having a completely integrated workflow, as we have at Lilt, gives you the opportunity to collect data at every point through the translation process and then expose that to our customers for analysis and also for use in other parts of the business as part of big data digital transformation initiatives. Number 4 is efficiency. So translation projects are getting smaller and smaller, turnaround times are getting shorter and shorter, and so there's greater need for tools that are going to make the translation process more efficient as more companies move to more continuous localization workflows. And so we're going to talk about a new product today that represents a significant advance, probably the most significant advance since we launched our first product in translation production efficiency. And then finally, security. Our customers' data is valuable, and we have been talking to our customers about the ways in which they want to use Lilt, where they want to use Lilt, how they want to use Lilt. And we've got some new solutions for those customers that want to maximize data security and access control, which includes our federal customers, our governmental customers. So I'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, so let's go into connectivity. One of the things that we heard from our customers is, okay, we like this idea of this new workflow and this new approach to language services, and we want to do a phased migration to it. So we want to keep some pieces of what we have right now and sort of migrate over time. And part of that is your TMS. So many companies have a TMS that they've invested in. They've invested in customization. Their teams are trained on it. And one thing that we heard is, I want turnkey integration with my TMS. So a couple of weeks ago, we announced that we now have turnkey integrations with 4 of the major TMSs on the market, the 2 SDL enterprise products, SDL TMS and SDL World Server, XTM Cloud, and SmartLink. And these are available today. So within a matter of minutes, we can have you set up so that you can start sending content through Lilt's workflow, and then it's delivered directly back into your TMS. We've got a team that's been working on this really hard for the past 12 months. not just these TMS connectors, but content connectors as well. So if you go to our website and look under connectors, you'll find a huge inventory of connectors that we've been building, which gives our customers turnkey access to the systems that they use every day for content operations. We're also starting to work on some new TMS connectors. So in the next few quarters, you'll hear about connectors for some of the other TMSs on the market: MemSource, TransFX, Phrase, and Localize, all of which have great APIs, great open APIs, and support integration in this manner. So it's really great to see the TMS products building richer and more complete APIs so that we can all provide customers with more interoperable systems, so that you can manage these complex digital migration programs with interoperable systems and carefully migrate different pieces of your workflow. So all of this is available today. One of our key product philosophies that's developed over the last year is to provide turnkey products to our users, so that they can minimize the time to realizing high translation quality and high translation efficiency. Okay, number two, this one I'm so excited about. So we are announcing today for the first time a product that our research team has been working on for about the last year and a half, which we're going to call Neural Auto Review. And the way this works is, everybody knows that translation sort of has a multi-step process, similar to other knowledge tasks, be it graphic design or working as a journalist in a newsroom or software development, where you have one person who does a first pass at the work, and then you have a reviewer who comes along and does a second pass. In localization, we call this TEP, or translation and review. And what we noticed was that this is effectively another translation process. So if we're translating, say, from English to French, the translator will translate to French, and then the reviewer will come in and translate the first French sentence to a new French sentence. And you can think of this as another translation problem. And indeed, that's what we capture in our system. So our research team has been, for the past year and a half, been trying to model what reviewers do, study what they do. And indeed, there are some of the mundane things that they do. They fix spelling errors, they fix grammar mistakes, they fix punctuation, but they also do these really interesting stylistic changes that are consistent with our customers' brand voice and their style guides and the experience that they're trying to achieve for their customers. And so we've taken the same adaptive technology that we've used now for years to accelerate the translation workflow, and we've applied it to review. And so this system will now do self-learning from what reviewers do. As reviewers make changes to what translators have created, it learns from that and then makes predictions to reviewers to help them increase translation quality. And we've benchmarked this against a widely used tool that's integrated in lots of different translation systems, which is called Language Tool. It's an open source grammar checker, QA checker that's developed by an open source community. And what we find is that Neural Auto Review gives 5x better predictions than Language Tool. And this is amazing. So, Language Tool, it's curated by linguists who write rules. Neural Auto Review learns from your workflow as it's running, and it will quickly learn stylistic preferences. So you'll see a demo a little bit later today in which Neural Auto Review is not only correcting spelling and grammar, which is integrated with it, but it's also proposing very interesting stylistic changes to the reviewer as they work. And you'll be seeing this product rolled out across languages in the coming months. Okay, so that's what we're doing on the quality front. Let's talk about visibility and control. So today I'm excited to announce a new version of Lilt Insights, which is our reporting product. And the way that we built this reporting product was we observed that reporting is typically siloed inside your translation platform. And the only way that you can get the data out of what's going on in localization is to do something like a CSV export and then give it to your data team so that they can build reports. Well, what we decided to do was build an integration-first approach to reporting so that you can get the data directly out of Lilt and put it into your favorite BI tool. And most companies now have, most data teams have BI tools, be it Tableau, Microsoft Power BI, Click, and many others. There's a common standard for exporting data from these systems, and we've implemented that now so that your data teams can build customizable dashboards to your business and to your workflow that's live. So it's live in your data tool. No more exporting CSV files and Excel sheets. No more trying to scrape data out of translation products and get it into other tools for analysis. Now you have a live direct link into Lilt, so you get spend data, production data, volume data, quality data, language distributions, who's working on your content, and you get all that, get that live within your favorite BI product. There's another component of this, which we've been working in beta with some of our customers on, which is that we've been trying to use Lilt Insights to prove localization ROI. So many of us have this intuition that if we show a page to someone in the language of their choice, that some of the metrics we care about, be it a simple one like time on page or like some kind of conversion event, they buy something, that goes up. And indeed, I showed you some survey data to that effect. Well, many companies run Google Analytics on their web properties, and I'm pleased to announce that our data science team internally has been doing some really interesting work with some of our customers as part of the design partnership of showing the ROI for localization, and we now have those results. We can show that for the conversion and engagement metrics that you care about, that localizing actually matters and has a significant and measurable impact. And that's great information to show to your leadership teams to advocate for digital transformation within localization. We can partner with any customer right now, take your data and produce reports for you showing this effect. And so this is going to be built into Lilt Insights and available to everyone. And I think this is exactly what we need as leaders in localization to demonstrate the value and the ROI of localization to the rest of the business. And we have that information now, and we have the tools to be able to do that. So that's available to all of our customers right now. If you're a current customer, just talk to your account manager. We can start to get that set up for you. For future customers, we hope that you'll give us a call, and as part of your initial work with us, when you're deciding whether to migrate to Lilt, we'll do this analysis for you, and we'll equip you with this data to go to your leadership and say that yes, localization is a win for digital. Okay, now let me go to the next one, which I'm personally very excited about. This is kind of where our work started many years ago, which is building tools for translators to make them more efficient. So today, I'm pleased to announce that the new version of our workbench for translators. And I think that now is the time to rebuild this workbench, since we've moved to hourly pricing for translators, and since we've moved for our enterprise customers to more and more 24-hour turnaround time. We're doing a significant volume of 24-hour turnaround time for our customers. And so the faster and more efficient we can make translators, the better we're all able to serve our customers. And a common complaint with translator tools, web-based translator tools, is that they're kind of slow. And you know what? Our product had gotten kind of clunky too. We've added in a bunch of automation. We've added in all this tag stuff and all these recommendation systems and QA systems. And our product had just basically turned into this sort of clunky, slow interface. And so we decided a number of months ago that we're just going to rebuild the whole thing. So we've rebuilt the translation workbench from the ground up. You'll see it today running live in production, and it's resulted in 250% faster in-browser performance. So when it's running on your machine, you will find that this is the fastest CAT tool that you have ever worked with. We've also invested significantly in our infrastructure worldwide. The translation workforce and our enterprise customers are distributed globally. This system is now running in 5 regions around the world and doing interactive adaptive learning across the world. So if we have translators, one who's working in Taiwan and another one who's working in Mexico, and they happen to be working on the same model, the learning is happening across both, and it's all synchronized around the world. And I want to thank our engineering team. This is an enormous cloud engineering task, and our team has accomplished an extraordinary feat by reducing worldwide response time. We've also invested heavily, and we'll show you today, in tag placement. We've realized that there are other parts of the translation workflow where assistance from machine learning is useful, and our tag placement system, which automatically places formatting tags for translators, our research team has been working on. We published a new result on this back in July at ACL, and that's now live in production, and it's 30% more accurate than it was at the beginning of the year. And now with our automatic tag placement, we find that we're placing the tags on average correctly 80% of the time. And this is a significant reduction in translator effort and a significant increase in final publication quality for our enterprise customers when we deliver content back that's going to be published. So you'll see this product today, the new Workbench. It'll be demoed live today, and it's going to be generally available in beta to some of our customers starting in late Q4 and then rolling out in parts of Q1. So this has been an enormous effort by the engineering team. It's a very complicated product that actually we've been working on now, various iterations of it, for close to 8 years. And this is just the latest version of it, rebuilt entirely for efficiency. Okay, finally, let me talk about security. So we've heard from many of our customers that they want complete control over their data and over access. So we've quietly been working on an on-premise version of Lilt. And I'm pleased to say today that we now have turnkey deployment in the following 4 private clouds. So if your business is running in AWS and you want to run Lilt in your AWS workspace, we have turnkey deployment into that, and we can get you running in less than a day. If you're a federal customer, we have some of our federal customers with us today, and you're running in Amazon GovCloud, we have turnkey deployment into GovCloud. If you're in Azure or Google Cloud, we can also support you in those cloud platforms. And I think what's really important here is that when we talk about this neural machine learning technology, oftentimes the current translation systems rely on third-party dependencies. So you may have a translation platform that you do the workflow with, but it relies on, say, Google Translate for its MT connector. And so even though you might be deploying the translation workflow on-prem, you still got data going off to a third party somewhere in another system. Lilt is a completely integrated translation product. So the machine translation systems, the translator workbench that I just showed you, the visibility, the connectors, the workflow, all of it is completely self-contained, and you can deploy it in an environment that's completely controlled by your IT team with no external connectivity whatsoever. And that also means that it's deployable on unmanaged infrastructure. So if you just want to deploy it onto a server box, you can do that. We can deploy on unmanaged infrastructure without any external network connectivity. It has no dependency on third-party services, third-party downloads. You can run it in a completely self-contained manner. That is deployable, available today, and it is in production with some of our federal customers, who I also want to thank. I haven't spoken much about our federal business much in this keynote, but Lilt is now used for national security missions by several governments. Our federal customers have, the main difference between them and our private sector customers is that our federal customers have federal linguists on staff for security reasons, and they use Lilt to process more information for national security missions. So I want to also thank our government partners. We don't get to talk about them very much, and indeed, they don't get to talk about their work very much. And so I want to thank them and recognize them for the work that they do for keeping this world free and fair. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is a community working together for a future that I think is fundamentally more exciting if it's multilingual. What if we could live in a future where you can go about your daily life in the language of your choice? that is a world that's possible. And this is a community that's working together towards that goal. Our customers, new leaders in localization, our translators, our partners, everyone working together to close this gap between what's available today in English and what we'd like to see available in all languages. And I think that this is just a fundamentally more exciting future than the one that we face right now, which is an increasing gap between the capacity of the localization industry and the amount of information that's being created. And so I want to thank everyone today for gathering together, for being a part of this journey, for being explorers, and for participating in this project to make the world more multilingual and more open and increase access to opportunity for everyone. And to summarize, today we've been announcing partnerships with organizations that are partnering with the community to build the next generation of leaders and to increase access to opportunity for everyone. We're also announcing new products to support that community in this cause of making the world more multilingual. And I'm so pleased that you're going to hear today from some of our customers who have been on this journey with us, and from the rest of our team who's done such great work organizing this conference for us today, and then building these products and building these services to support this community. So with that, I'll wrap up.